Hello everyone, my name is Rachel Goldie, and I'm a BFA candidate at Winthrop University with a dual emphasis in painting and printmaking. Today I'm here to talk to you about my creative process of my thesis work titled All to See. When I began this project, I strived to make art that would challenge me and break me out of my comfort zone. Throughout my artistic career, portraiture has been a creative go-to for me, and yet I never painted self-portraits unless I was required to. As I stepped back and thought more about this, I questioned why I never depicted myself or other people with my body type for that matter. I then began to think about how uncomfortable I would be to depict my own naked body for everyone to analyze closely and critique. Knowing that it would be difficult and different from what I created in the past, I disregarded my hesitation and decided that the focus of my thesis work would be on my bodily insecurities. My thesis project acted as a self-imposed test to see how far I would go with what made me personally uncomfortable as an artist. I wanted to push myself with the subject matter as well as the way in which the work is presented. I used this project as a time to experiment and paint on surfaces I had never been brave enough to try before. Collectively, my paintings were on stretched canvases, loose untreated canvas, plywood, and glass. My reasoning behind the different painting surfaces was because, in all honesty, they were what I had in my studio. During my time at Winthrop, I had collected a lot of random materials. As my time at Winthrop was coming to an end and my bank account was running low, I decided this was as good a time as any to use them and experiment with new processes. When the opportunity arose for me to show my work in the corner of the gallery, I planned to utilize the two walls and have the work on opposing sides interact in an interesting way. I wanted to highlight the different shapes and textures of the pieces while keeping in mind how they would look next to each other. To do this, I showed the work at varying heights and had the loose canvas stretch itself across the space, being pulled at the edges by green twine. The green twine also wraps around the mirror and cascades down to a round piece of glass with a rabbit painted in the center. The same twine is depicted wrapped around my stomach in the paintings themselves. I found that wrapping my stomach tightly with the twine created interesting lines visually and emphasized the curves and rolls that my body already had. I used the twine to make new forms and different shadows that are not there naturally. This pushes the idea of how it feels to look at your body negatively and how you can tend to exaggerate what you do not like about it to the point where you see it unrealistically. To emphasize that the paintings were focused on my inner thoughts and insecurities, I zeroed in on the subjects of my face and stomach and made them fill the surfaces they were painted on. The paintings extend past the borders of the picture plane to create this effect. For the image of the hands pulling at my neck and chin, the hands continue onto another surface altogether, moving from the ovular canvas to the square piece of plywood. I like the idea that the elements of the installation were different sizes, shapes, and materials so that they resembled what I imagined thoughts would look like. The installation is truly a look inside my mind. Each image is a moment of self-imposed critique of my body and how it made me feel. All these moments are connected and play off of one another to make me feel insecure and unsure of myself. To paint them was a way to come to terms with them being real and perhaps a chance to understand why I had these feelings towards myself. On the walls, along with the paintings and the twine, are found mirrors. In front of the mirror is a place where I look at my flaws and poke, stretch, and pull at what I do not like to see. I included these reflective pieces to link back to the concept of looking at yourself in the mirror and it being one of the only ways to observe your own body. Having the mirrors between the paintings also serves to reflect the audience. The viewer will see their reflection and therefore put themselves into the piece. This may allow them to possibly empathize and think about their own bodies or their own insecurities. The viewer can also see their reflection in a polished zinc intaglio plate that has an etched rabbit in the center. A repeated image of the rabbit is painted on a piece of glass that leans against the wall on the floor. The rabbit appears in this work as a motif to emote feelings of vulnerability and helplessness. This animal serves as a symbol of purity and innocence and is caught and hung from its feet, unable to get away. When showing such intimate and hidden parts of myself, I can relate to that rabbit. I feel exposed and vulnerable to the fact that I cannot control what people will think or say about my work, and therefore my body. The loose canvas that hangs off the wall and drapes onto the floor was a later addition to the body of work. Prior to the creation of the painting featured in the show, I had painted a prime canvas that pictured my wrapped stomach, where I planned to render the skin with realistic skin tones, tack it flush against the wall to hang with other paintings. But when I stepped back, I realized that it didn't capture the feeling I was trying to create. I wanted the loose canvas to imitate skin, the flesh on my stomach, and imitate what it's like to pull at your skin to change how it sits naturally, seeing if there's a way to just pull it off your body entirely. The green twine that had once wrapped around me before now tightly pulls at my stomach in different directions, stretching it to something uncomfortable and unusual. Throughout the creation of All to See, I learned how to push past being afraid to show personal parts of myself in my art. The experimentation allowed me to let go of some of the control that had restricted me as an artist in the past. I was able to follow my instincts when painting and trust the decisions I made throughout the process, which is something I hope to practice more in my future work. Thank you for listening.